Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. When you read, you begin with A, B, C. When you sing, you begin with Sa, Re, Ga. The first three notes just happen to be Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni. The higher octaves are Sa. If you noticed, the notes moved up in an ascending manner. If I compare it to ascending numbers, by giving every note a number, Sa is 1, Re is 2, Ga is 3, and so on. So, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni, Sa, Sa, Ni, Dha, Pa, Ma, Ga, Re, Sa. I compared the musical notes to ascending and descending numbers. Now, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni are the tools which help us to build a song. When you mix up the notes, you get a raga. Now, let me mix up the odd and even notes. Sa, Ga, 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 Pa, Pa. Even notes. Re, Ma, Ma, Dha, Ni, Ni. So you can compare that to odd and even numbers. Then you have alternate notes. Sa, Ga, Re, Ma, Ga, Pa, Ma, Dha, Pa, Ni, Da, Sa, Sa, Dha, Ni, Pa, Da, Ma, Pa, Ga, Ma, Re, Ga, Sa. Compare it to alternate numbers and consecutive notes and consecutive numbers like this. Pa, da, pa, da, pa, da, pa. Ga, ma, ga, ma, ga, ma, ga. Re, ga, re, ga, re, ga, re. Maggie, Maggie, Maggie. Remember that jingle? Well, it was the year 1996 when I told the story of music. What is classical music? And I explained the concept of melody, rhythm, and vibrations with the help of puppets, music, and a musical storytelling. Little did I realize I had embarked on a STEAM education, integrating music, art, and stories. The topic today that I'm addressing is how to explore science through art, storytelling, and music. This was the aha moment, sparked curiosity in 1996. The next 10 to 15 years, I was wandering around India and mostly Mumbai, visiting schools and colleges. And I discovered the spellbinding power of the narrative when I told stories. The magic formula was to unite an idea with a strong emotion, and that made a compelling story. Persuasion is the centerpiece of any activity, my friends. Lawyers, believe you me, are great persuasive storytellers. So, the centerpiece of any activity is persuasion. The most compelling way to persuade people is to unite an idea with a strong emotion, makes for a compulsive, compelling story. Children remember a story than mere facts. Stories actually enhance the curriculum, enliven the classroom, engage the audience, and empower the students to explore. What happens when you tell a story? You stimulate the mind and thoughts. Between stimulus and response lies infinite space. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor, said, in stimulus, in response, is where we find freedom and we grow. So, a story is just a bunch of information arranged in a sequence manner which has an emotion, right? Now, a story is a mental organizer. A story is mental yoga. It kind of makes our mind flexible. You explore your imagination, and the ability to think outside the box is well processed. And that is what a storyteller like me is here to do. That was my challenge, how to enliven the classroom. But 2010, the year of 2010 was a life-defining moment for me. When I visited Agastya Foundation, which is about a 3-hour journey from the city of Bengaluru, and it's a 200-acre campus, and the motto in Agastya is to spark curiosity in every rural child. Teach science to rural children. I was there at the behest of the chairman, Mr. Ramji Raghavan, and he took me on a night visit and he said, Usha, why don't you tell a story? Here we were around 7 p.m. in a village somewhere in the Kuppam district. And I was there in the center of the village with all villagers had gathered around. And I was wondering, how do I relate science to a story? Well, it was a challenge, but I rose to the challenge. I thrive on challenges. I said, let me dip into my repertoire of stories. And I came up with the perfect story because the moon was a silvery sliver in the sky. The whole, the sky was draped with a million gazillion twinkling stars. And I started sharing the story of the moon and his 2 wives. You know, the moon has 2 wives. The first wife is a gourmet cook. When he visits her, he just eats and grows fatter and fatter till he can't eat anymore. And then he staggers off to meet his other wife, who's an amazing storyteller, who absolutely weaves a magic, and he travels on the wings of her words and forgets to eat, grows thinner and thinner and thinner till he's just a sliver and disappears from the sky. Then his stomach growls, says, feed me, and then he rushes to his gourmet cook. I use this story to talk about the phases of the moon. Quarter moon, half moon, gibbous, full moon, new moon, right? And what is once in a blue moon? And about planets, about orbits, about the solar system, the lunar calendar. And the Agastya mobile van had a contraption that explained the phases of the moon. And this was my moment of eureka. I said, I just got it. Things have clicked into place. The magic formula to set people on fire was a story which had science elements. And as I explored, I'm a storyteller, I had to hone my craft every day. I realized that every story has a science element in it. Take the story of Little Red Riding Hood or about Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. Has a science element. And then I happened to visit Edinburgh. I started traveling all over the world just to equip myself, hone my skills. And I went to Edinburgh, and there I listened to this beautiful story in a workshop about that thing in the pond. I will just cut short the story. It's a little rabbit who has to go and fetch carrots for tea. And he's frightened of that thing in the pond. And he returns empty-handed and tells his mother, Mommy, I was scared. There's a thing in the pond. I shook my fist at it. It shook its fist back. I shook a stick at it. It shook the stick back. Mommy, I even shook a rock at it. It shook the rock back. I'm frightened, Mommy. His mother smiled and she said, darling, did you try smiling at it? No. Why don't you try it? So little rabbit went back through the woods, stepped onto the fallen log, and as he was halfway across the pond, he looked down and he smiled at the thing in the pond, and the thing in the pond smiled back. Oh, that wasn't scary anymore, little rabbit thought, and he skipped and went to the other side, picked up as many carrots as he could carry, and on his way back, he waved his hand at that thing in the pond, and the thing in the pond waved its hand back. And this is how little rabbit met his reflection. So this story taught me, what does the story do? A story explains the scientific concepts by giving the scientific process a narrative and characters. As you retell the story, the listener internalizes the science elements in the story, and then it embeds deep in your mind and in your imagination, and your critical and intuitive faculties hum to life. You're ready to wrestle with a problem. Now, with this knowledge in mind, I decided to rework my workshop and called it STEAM Storytelling. You know, the educational buzzword du jour in the decade of 2010 was STEAM education, with the audacious goal of building innovators and creators. And it was left to us storytellers actually to teach STEAM education, because education couldn't keep up with the pace of STEAM storytelling. I had grown up actually understanding that education was linear, interpreting it. Many of the people of my generation also did this. But my goal was to eliminate doubt, fear, and to make my listener a divergent thinker, a lateral thinker. And what best way than to tell a story, and STEAM stories at that. So I would begin a math class with a puzzle story. And I would say, as I was walking down the street, I met a woman with about a lot of kids. I asked her, good day, ma'am. You seem to be having 20 children. She turned a twinkling eye in my direction and she said, figure it out. If I had half as many as I have, if I have twice as many as I have and half as many as I have, then it would total to 20. What is X? How many number of children did she have? Now this started a dialogue between me and the students. Not only did I train teachers across India, I also taught STEM stories to children so that to empower. Remember, the 3 goals of education is to be effective, engage, and empower. The 3 E's. I remember a wonderful storyteller friend of mine from the United States, Franz Stallings, said, a story is a hook on which we hang a lesson. Stories and science are classically entwined. I said they are alliterative, right? And they both dwell in the realm of creativity, joy, and playfulness. Story is the inner magic, and science awakens the outer magic. Like I said, the decade of 2010 was a milestone. I traveled across India, visiting schools, colleges, and even internationally when I reached many milestones. In the year 2019, I organized SCIFARI. You can see it on the screen. the first ever science storytelling festival ever to be organized in India. I did it with collaboration with the Nehru Science Center, Mumbai, and my colleague and dearest friend Lubaina Bandukwala of a children's literature festival helped me to execute it. It was one of the best talked about festival, first one of its kind in India, and we had storytellers from all over India coming, sharing stories. We had over 1,500 footfalls. This was the ha-ha moment for me. My work had come to fruition. I could see there was immense joy. And there were many other milestones. One of them I want to share is I did write a book on animal advocacy. It may not be an integral part of the SDG goals, but every animal has a right. If it ain't good for you, it ain't good for the animals. That was the mantra. I traveled internationally to Penang and did a workshop for children at the Penang Science Center. The minister came and attended my workshop. And also, I did a storytelling workshop for teachers in Malaysia. Well, I remember Benjamin Franklin's words. Tell me, and I will forget. Teach me, and I may remember. Involve me, and I will learn. So friends, join me with a Thai rap. This is a rap story. There's so much to talk about science, but I will end my talk today. Once upon a time, in a science classroom, I was asked, what is science? There's so much I don't know, but with science, our minds do grow. Why do we eat food? Why no animals on the moon? What makes cheetahs fast? What makes turtles slow? I really don't know. With science, you uncover mysteries, ask questions, run tests, and that's the recipe, my friends. That's the recipe. Questions and experiments, questions and experiments. That's what science is all about. You can be a scientist too, just you try it. You can be a scientist too. Run tests till you find the truth. I would like to again end with the scientist's perspective on storytelling. We participate and therefore we are. Thank you and namaste.